we gutted everything from the lower level to the main level. I knew I could really transform any space to something special. I am Kate Marker, an interior designer. I have 3 different businesses. I have Kate Marker Interiors, Kate Marker Home, and Kate Marker Properties. I started as an interior designer back in 2007. I started my own business in the middle of the recession, and now I've grown my business to almost 20 people. Our Kate Marker Home story started back in 2019, just before COVID hit. We started with vintage rugs. I have this love for that story that, is told from it. We were always asked where our vintage rugs were from, and we launched that back in 2019 and then added more accessories and more furniture and artwork, and it's completely grown in the last several years. We also do in-home styling services for Kate Marker Home, not just accessories that you can buy online, but we'll come into your home and redo a room. Locally, that was something that we added to be able to service our clients from small to large. So Kate Marker Properties started last year with my husband. He got involved in the side of the business. These are rental properties as well as build spec homes. We just finished our first spec in Barrington, right in our local hometown. And we've done 5 vacation homes from Rosemary Beach to Michigan and now here in Lake Geneva. We decided to get into that because we really wanted clients and people to be able to, if they can't hire us for their new construction home or their large renovation, they could come in and experience what we started and what we've built. So today we're here at our May Bay Cottage. It's our newest addition to Kate Marker Properties. It is a vacation rental home as well as mainly a home for us to use on the weekends or summer months as a family. It looked like this old cottage in the most perfect location in Williams Bay, but I knew it needed to be completely transformed. And so we kept a few pieces of the charm that was here from like the beams and some materials that were on site, but generally we gutted everything from the lower level to the main level. We even added on where the deck was to this room that I'm sitting in now, the great room. Some things that you'll always see in our projects are texture, neutrals, and very livable, approachable materials. We get involved early on with the architect and we're there to the final accessory. So we designed it with the intention of it being very livable and functional as well as beautiful, of course. So this is the entryway to the May Bay Cottage. This is such an impactful part of the cottage because it's so functional with these tall cabinets that we were able to fit in by doing this addition. They're filled with storage. If you're coming back from the beach or you just want to get anything tucked behind there, they're full of shelving. We have this antique bench that I found and shop for specifically, and we added this performance fabric for those like little muddy hands or dirtiness coming from the outside. A fun little spot with this little swoop. I think my carpenter wanted to kill me when I told him that I wanted to add this little back spot for the hooks, and it turned out really sweet. It feels very cottagey. Even though it's so cute, it's a very functional, thought out landing for an entryway. The ceiling height too, this was something that's very impactful when you walk in because it has a straight view to the kitchen and dining room space, but also these gorgeous, very large Troy lighting fixtures. They are in that dark bronze. They give it, again, some of that natural character to them because they're a little patinaed. So this is the great room where all the magic happens. This is the spot where we're entertaining, we're having conversations, we're lounging. Originally, this space was a large deck. So the intention of this space was for it to feel like it was always here. So the river rock is something that really started, especially with the colors, the warm, natural colors that we have throughout the space. This is something that I really started with as inspiration to kind of really lay the groundwork for this whole room. You'll see the outside of the front door and then also on the fireplace. I'm in love with these wood burning stone fireplaces. They give off so much heat. This one we did as a remote control, so it's really easy to use and function with, so there's no mess, which is really fun. We also vaulted these ceilings. They're 14-foot ceilings. We did the exposed beams, painted them a white, and it really just made this cottage feel like an everyday functional space. These guys are so beautiful, how they swivel to the water and the views, and then those guys swivel to the TV if you want to watch a show or a football game. And then we grounded also the space with this beautiful sofa and this dark army green, again my favorite color. Couldn't resist doing a little bit more green. And then always are adding some bit of woven, a little bit of texture. So we did that as the kind of to unify it with this coffee table. Then we added this antique pine door frame, also a little piece of history. I found these back locally in where my design studio is, and a shop that we work with there. They're old reclaimed beams from a barn, but we use these to frame out this space so that when you walk in, you've got that, really effect of warmth and character, but openness as well. This is where the old front door was, and so the deck was in the great room. So you'll see as you approach this, and we showcase it to you, that there's a little window up here. So that is a piece that we left. But we open this up as you see into the kitchen, and then dining room space. This was the past, I would say, living room, but we are now using this as the dining space where you can all gather, and it's all about food, right? So you have to have a great place to sit and eat. I have these old vintage chairs that I found in France on an anniversary trip. I think it was 105 degrees that week in the south of France, and my husband had to be, toddled with me throughout that part of the trip, and it's totally worth it because now I found the perfect landing spot for these French chairs. We have this table that's from Denmark. I got it on Cherish. And an old trunk that you'll see for some storage. Really, again, made it feel lived in, but also has a little piece of history. This entire cottage is about family history and meaning, and so it felt fitting to really design the kitchen around the walnut. I'm in love with how you can just chop right here on the counter and use it as a functional top. These Hudson Valley pendants in concrete give it some texture. They are kind of in a funky spot. Typically when we're doing a kitchen, we're always hanging the lights over an island. And so when I was playing with the ceiling and how we were gonna design this, the skylights were here, which brought so much light in, but we were like, how are we gonna get these light fixtures in here? So it was really fun to just design them based on the ceiling rather than design them based on the cabinetry. And I like that a little bit of funk that you usually get, in a cottage. And so this really helped it feel a little bit funky, as well as the exposed, open shelving. Everything is accessible. You can see it right there and then, and use it as you're cooking or entertaining or just hanging out with family. These floors are from a company called Biellen. They are a Swedish company. They sent me these samples to my design studio, and I fell in love with the color tone. We use them in the lower level. They're waterproofing, engineered floor. This is engineered as well, but it's natural wood. Again, it has that very oiled texture to it where they feel very natural. I'm really happy with how they turned out, and we've been working hard getting this place ready, and they've held up really well. Very excited. So there's some little details that we highlighted to make it feel like this kitchen's always been here. Where we took it to another level, something that probably wouldn't have always been here, is this really beautiful stone marble countertops that we did. But we added this bull nose detail here too, just to give it a little softness. The fluted sink really gives it, again, a little bit of that vintage flair. Couldn't help but put that walnut also down on, the drip edge below it. Gives it a little bit of contrast, and I love brass, so we had to use brass. Brass kind of completed the look of this, aged brass throughout the plumbing fixtures as well as the hardware. Here we are in the primary suite. This has also a queen bed. I am really excited to share this with you because I feel like this is really your space that you feel calm in and restful. And I love what we did with it. We really, again, packed in as much space as we could. This room did actually have these beams in here. We painted them white just to lighten and brighten the space, and then we did this moody rolling fog by Little Green Paint on the walls. This is one of my favorite colors. I love the warmness of it. It has a hint of a little rose to it. Raspberry is kind of what I started with in this room. I wanted a little pop of that rosy color that you pull from the Little Green Paint walls. So we added this neutral taupey ticking stripe bed with this sort of raspberry red colored pattern on the pillows, this vintage throw that I found from an old antique market, as well as our brown beautiful walnut night tables, and just as you head into the primary bathroom. There's nothing I love more than natural limestone, and so we had to do this floating vanity for this tiny little bathroom. Even though this is the primary bathroom, this is a bathroom that was added in the cottage, and you'll see how it just all works even though it's a little tight space. So we have this beautiful natural limestone vanity top, and then these Bedrosian stone floors. I feel like with the river rock and everything that we have going on, with this being a lake cottage, it felt fitting. And then as you head into the shower, you'll see this really natural hand-painted stone tile that we did on the walls from Bedrosians. Again, this is a really small bathroom, but it worked really great to add the pocket door, and love how MTech just gives it a little bit of a show here. And it just all took shape and came together with our Little Green Paint rolling fog, my favorite. So you'll see the stairs. This was something that was added because there was no transition from the main level to the lower level. And so again, in this small cottage, we were really stumped with what to do and how to get to the lower level. So we added this spiral staircase that you see that I wrapped in rope. And then I found these old vintage spindles from actually the place that I got the reclaimed beams from. We painted them in the two-tone, also Little Green Paint. I just love this color. So the two-tone with the chocolate and then the white. And then I added these little finials on the top for a little vintage character. And then I cannot forget our #1 selling item called the Circle Wall Vine. It's from Kate Marker Home. We have it in small, medium, and large. This is the small size, and again, this just has that old antique wood woven together, and it has very, I feel like I would call it sort of a symbol to, you know, Kate Marker Home and what we do with texture and what we do with natural materials. We call this space the lower level rather than the basement because there's a walkout. This felt like a real dungeon before. It was like a dark, you know, just almost felt like more of a crawl space, or, you know, not necessarily like anything that could be finished. The walls were cinder block, the floors were concrete. There was no ounce of finish to it. So we came in and saw that we could restore the space. There was a lot of light coming from, you know, the lower level. There was light from these small windows, but you'll see how we truly transformed it. This is really about comfort down here. This is a place to lounge. We have this beautiful performance sectional that, you know, is for the kids just to throw their feet up, watch a movie, you know, eat some popcorn, just chill down here and have their little, you know, respite spot. And I think upstairs space is a little bit more for the adults. So we thought this space was really important because, you know, if you have a guest or you're entertaining, this is a good spot for a little mini kitchenette. So this is a fun little idea that we came up with to hide, you know, the plumbing behind here. It's a good way to save on cabinets too. Gives you a little texture, gives you a little pattern, adds some charm. So you have to check out our guest suite. It's also in the lower level. You have the washer and dryer outside for cleaning towels and your laundry. And then this space was all created as a full-on guest suite for our friends and family that come to visit. So we added a bathroom and bedroom. We built in the bedroom. It's a full queen-size bed to just sort of a place to jump in. It's different than what you typically see in a bedroom. This is another piece of history that was in the cottage when we bought it. It was in the walls, like this old newspaper, so we framed it and made it a special part of the design. We have a little spot here where you can hang your clothes, beautiful piece of artwork and luggage storage for all of our guests. When we were designing this room, it was really tough to fit in a full-size bed and then have room for night tables. So we custom drew up the space to build in the bed fully into the walls, so it's wall to wall, the perfect size for a queen. We have a little shelf area over here that you can charge your phone or have a glass of water. So we keep calling this cottage our small but mighty cottage because there's 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, and only 1,400 square feet. We absolutely adore how this bathroom turned out down here, also in the lower level. I'm absolutely obsessed with this little green paint garden wallpaper. It really was like what we picked first, and then how we established all of our colors down here, from the mustard bath stone yellow that you have in the bedroom to this green and yellow and a little bit of apricot color within the walls. This was really unique for us. We also used this beautiful Bergersen's tile that gives you lots of character but stays neutral. MTech was our hardware, really our staple piece that we used throughout the cottage as our door hardware. It's really the jewelry of the home. They really kind of have the full caliber of scale, but also style. And so they have a selector tool online that we use often that shows you the backplate escutcheon as well as the handle, and you can play with it. So we use it for our design boards. You'll see the handles here. We did the porcelain knobs because it just really truly felt like cottage style, and something I just really think feels like it's always been here, like it's a piece of history. We also did these privacy knobs where you can turn the knob. Also feels a little bit more historical and vintage. I love how they turned out. This is a sweet little bunk room. We have 2 queen beds and 2 twin beds above it, so it can pack in 6 children or adults and children. It's fully functional. We use a 2-tone paint color situation here, from the light blue bunks to the yellow walls. It all started from this fabric that I fell in love with. I'm very driven with fabrics, being an interior designer, so I couldn't help myself, but I fell in love with this pattern and used it as our sort of color tone for this whole space. This covers the closet area that's packed full for storage with one of our Kate Marker home vintage rugs. But this is one of those spaces that I feel like really complete this cottage because of how many people that you can sleep in here, but also the memories that can be made in this room. So last year I launched the Love of Home book. This is truly a love story to your home, honestly, whether it's a vacation home or main home. This is my main home on the cover that I live in currently. We often move every few years being in this business, but this is where we're currently at. This was a large renovation that we did, but this is a guide to help you fall in love with your home, whether it's just redoing it with a few accessories or doing new construction or a large renovation. It's from small to large. Again, very attainable for most people. It shows a lot of our beautiful projects, but also gives you some tips and tricks on how to do it yourself or how we did it. We do homes that are really tell the story, and that is something that is really the guiding principle that you'll see throughout this book. I would say the end result of this project is a cozy, inviting weekend escape. It's a nod to family tradition and the legacy that we can bring to our daughters as especially a special lasting memory for the future for them.